can you really check your history and yourself?
Stop playing politics with my punani. Stop playing politics with my punani. Hey, 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 Republicans. I see you called on your fellow man. All dicks and no nuts. Then you rush to call me a slut. I'm standing up for what is mine. Call me the rib, but I'm really the spine of this whole great nation. Ain't gonna put me back on the plantation. No, stop playing politics with my punani.
Wow, I'm back. I'm back, everyone. I am back. Welcome back to Punanny Politics. Wow. I mean, it's been a really huge pause. It's been a huge pause, but I'm back. I'm back with my yoni around my neck. I'm back with my yoni in my hand. I'm back with yoni on the green screen because I need all the yoni power that I can muster up today to be with y'all, because it's been all about the yoni for the past 6 weeks. It's been all about the yoni. And I know some of y'all have been like, where has she been? What happened? I know. So I'm just going to break it down. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to put the yoni down, but you know, my golden yoni, she's with me always. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to give you a little, I guess, give you the news, spill the tea, all those kind of things about what's been happening or what had happened. So let us rewind. I wish I had like a dreamscape, like music or something I could add. But let us rewind to the very, very beginnings of Punanny Politics. And my very first guest was Vanessa Celestine. And I'm actually going to mention her again later on. But we were talking about fibroids. And, you know, I talked about how the original thought of my whole Punanny Politics thing was supposed to be about like women's vaginal, reproductive, blah, 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 health. And I talked to Vanessa because she does Reiki, but she also does yoni steaming and she does sound baths and all these things. And she's like my neighbor. And she's one of the first people I went to when I was starting my journey on, releasing my fibroids. So now I'm going to fast forward. I'm going to fast forward to COVID. When we started in COVID, meaning I started this podcast or this vodcast or whatever you want to call it in COVID. But I was on this path to naturally releasing my fibroids. COVID happened, everything shut down, all my holistic practitioners and all these things happened. And then, what happened to all of us? We all kind of went into a tailspin about what was happening with COVID and all these kind of things. And, some of the regimens that we were on, some of us might have fallen off. And I'm talking about like, health-wise, blah, blah, blah. And this is not like a judgment, blah, 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 because I'm in there with you. I'm in there with you, child. I'm in there with you. So I made a decision to have UFE, which is uterine fibroid embolization. So not to get into all kind of like medical talk, but basically what that is it's not like when you go in and you take out your fibroids. It is you go in and then you cut off the blood supply to the fibroids, meaning you just, you go in, you cut off the blood supply so that the fibroids are not really happy about that because, they're eating, basically how they eat is from all this blood, So I had that procedure done. It's really not very invasive at all, but definitely, just like any procedure, you're going to have what they called, and I didn't really know what they meant, but now I understand what they meant, but they call it UFE syndrome afterwards, which is basically like the fibroids are mad. The fibroids are mad. So you have cramping and all that kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. So the procedure itself went well. But afterward, I got a really crazy case of gastritis. So let us bring you to the date that I was supposed to have LaFrae on my show. Yay, she's back. But I have LaFrae on the show in March. So I had this idea that I was going to have this procedure. And then like 2 weeks later, I was going to be straight. Like, I was like, cool, I'm going to be straight. I'm going to do this, da, 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 da. And about a week after, or, I yeah, like the pain was a thing. And I thought it was due to the actual procedure, but it was really part procedure, part the gastritis, and not really knowing that at the time. When you're having procedures done around your, around your womb, around your abdominal area, not really feeling like you want to eat. I couldn't, usually, not even usually, when you have any sort of, surgical procedure or something like that, they're going to give you pain meds, but they're only going to give you so much. So when those things ran out, they were telling me to do a regimen of like ibuprofen and Tylenol, sort of like 3 hours, like 3 hours on, 3 hours off. Well, as we know, children, or maybe as you don't know, if you're going to be taking ibuprofen, you really need to be eating, right? Because that stuff will jack up your stomach. And that is what happened to me. It really jacked me up. And I didn't really know it until later. Like, it wasn't something that like was computing at the time. But when I really went back and started thinking about it and really putting things together, I was like, this ibuprofen jacked me up. So the day that I was supposed to have LaFrae on, I was trying to put on a brave face. I was really like, I'm going to get in here and we're going to do this show. I'm going to like put on some makeup and we're going to make it happen. Then I'm just going to go back and lay down. Well, the universe had other plans because the camera on my computer just died. Like, it died. And so like when you're looking for signs, like sometimes, us, the human in us will be like, no, we can do this. I can push through. And the spirit is like, girl, sit your ass down. So I'm going to sit you down. I'm going to totally break the camera on your computer. I'm just going to break that. Done. So I was just like, okay. And even when that happened, see, these are the things like, these are the lessons. Like, there's lessons. Even when that happened, I was still like, oh, I have a webcam, I have my phone, I can, hook this up and hook that up and da-da-da-da. And give thanks to my girl Desiree, who called me at that day and was just like, girl, I think you just need to just not do the show today. Like, and very calmly, very, very like, girl, like, I think that's the universe trying to tell you to sit down. And she was correct. So I sat down, and interestingly enough, that night was sort of the start of a week. Well, I shouldn't say week, but I kind of started going downhill from there. And not like in a bad way that like, obviously I'm back, I'm here. But yeah, like the fact that I was even thinking about doing a show that night was a little crazy. But it speaks to so many things that like I don't really have time to completely speak on. But the one of those things is like that idea that like we just have to keep going and keep going. And don't take our own advice, because honestly, if I'd have been looking at me, I'd have been like, girl, what are you doing? I'd have given the same advice Desiree gave me, I would have given somebody else. So yeah, it was just a very interesting time. But I'll just say that in the midst of that, time of pain, I wasn't really eating. My mom came and, basically stayed with me for a week here at my place. And then, until I was well enough to get in the car and drive back to, her house. And that is where I had been for like the last month. So it's really something. But I'm glad I'm back. And what I'm choosing to do post the embolization is to go back to, my holistic regimen around healing myself. Because the thing about a UFE is that like it will shrink the fibroids, but it doesn't shrink them down to nothing. So you still have to be about the business of doing the work, within yourself to continue to release them down to nothing. And that's my plan, to release them down to nothing. So that's why I have all my yoni power with me in this moment. So one thing I just want to share, because when Vanessa was here, we talked a little bit about this, but one of the things that I've been doing, because man, I mean, I'm really, at some point, I'm going to like just give the whole tea rundown of like all the things that happened around this process, because man, like the dreams and all the things, it's been a lot. Anyway, but one thing I've been doing, it's just been really lovely, is I've been yoni steaming. Yay. So I know some of y'all, if you checked that episode with Vanessa, let's see, Vanessa's episode. Oh, I thought I had. Oh, there it is. Okay. So yeah, you can check out the episode with Vanessa Celestine. It was episode 1 of season 1. You can always find her at CelestineHealingCo.com or My Celestial Life or Celestine Healing on IG. But she was the first person that I ever did a yoni steam with. And yoni steams are really awesome. In the releasing of fibroids. They're good for when you're postpartum, if you're having any sort of like bacterial vaginitis, if you're having, you're trying to get that, get your areas to like continue to stay moist, you know what I'm saying? All those things. Yoni steaming. Yes. So she's in Brooklyn, another awesome sister that I know, love, and, anybody out there in New Orleans, amazing spot called Self-Esteem New Orleans. The sister's name is Sarette, who runs Self-Esteem New Orleans. She's on IG at Self-Esteem Nola or selfesteemnola.com. The reason I also love Sarette is because not only does she have stuff for the ladies, she has stuff for the fellas. Because, fellas be up in here needing some things for their areas too. You know what I'm saying? So that I really, really, yoni steaming has been like saving me and saving me so much that, during the pandemic, I got my own steam seats. There's my little yoni steam seats. It's so exciting. I love my steam seats. I found it on Etsy. Black man brother who does woodworking, and he makes yoni steam seats. I was like, come on, brother. So, and I should have put his info, but if you're interested in like knowing about him, you can always hit me up on IG. I will, let you know. I'm on IG at Punanny Poly TV, and I'll let you know about where you can get your own beautiful yoni steam seat. So I'm steaming all the time. It's just nice. It's like got a little spa for the yoni. You know what I'm saying? Like how can you can't beat that? Who doesn't want a yoni spa? You know what I'm saying? So that is my thing. And I just think that, again, I know I'm going to write this whole story, but just because you might be beyond what everybody calls, childbearing age or blah, 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 blah. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't take care of your yoni. It doesn't mean that you don't need love. Need love. Love upon your girl. You know what I'm saying? Take care of your girl, take care of your girl, take care of your girl. So that's my yoni spiel for today. And I'm okay. Like I'm still healing. My gauge, I guess I feel like, is like when I can jump rope again, that's when I know I'm back. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes it still feels a little like, don't be jumping around. But I'm on my way. And the fact that I, can be in a car and go over bumps and it's not killing me is also a blessing. So I'm on my way. So thanks everybody. That there were folks that were reaching out and, wondering what happened, and, that's what happened. So if you're just tuning in, when it's over, you can rewind, you can get the tea, a little bit of the tea before I write my whole memoir about what happened. All right. So just because I've been like off the grid, I've been off the grid and a lot has happened, and it's like I've been paying attention, or I should say I've been in the know, I should say. But I haven't been commenting, I wasn't posting anything. So I need to kind of rewind a little bit because I want to acknowledge some things and some people that I had planned to acknowledge when I was going to do that show in March. Like, it's so crazy that, we're 6-7 weeks ago, but right before my show, right after I came out of surgery, my good friend, my brother, colleague, Craig Moms Grant, he passed away. And, some of you all know Moms, he used to be on Oz. He was an actor, poet. I knew him as a poet. Like that's where I first came into, my knowing of this brother. And I knew him along with these other two brothers because Miles, Jade, and Mums all share a birthday. And so, they would always have birthday parties together. And it was always a good time, just to put it bluntly. But we lost Mums. And that was a hard one. It's like, I feel like all these three brothers you look at in the picture, I feel like I grew up with them. There's a certain thing about, being in the poetry, writing, music world of the 90s in New York. We grew up together. We were kids together. So I'm sending mad love. I didn't get to say it out loud, so I'm saying it out loud, about Mums. There's Mums with his full beard. He always was looking like a mountain man. You know what I'm saying? And we miss him and we love him. We love him. And in that, time that I've been gone, so, we lost DMX. I was just like, man, I didn't know that was gonna hit me like it did, but much love to that brother. And, there's a lot of people who actually knew him. Of course, I did not know DMX, but a lot of people that knew him just talked about, how much pain he had been for much of his life, talking emotional. And so, we know with transition, we are out of pain, but, what a talented, beautiful, really amazing brother he was. And now on with the ancestors. We also lost Black Rob, another very talented brother. And we also lost Shock G. So, I might, I hope I'm not missing anybody, but I hope I am missing somebody. Cause I hope I'm just like, there's nobody else to talk about is really what I'm saying. But man, talk about Shock G, like really just changed the face of hip hop, like really just came through, really genius brother. And Digital Underground, like, come on. Yeah. So, there's been a lot of talk about, Black men and health and all that. And I'm just going to say, for all of us, not just Black men, like all of us, Black people, like just to, do our best to care for ourselves and for, our brothers and our sisters, look out for each other. If you see folks that are struggling or, whether it's physically, mentally, like let's put our arms around each other. It's been quite a time, this year and change. So yeah, let's think about that, or not even think about that. Let's do that. Cause just like Desiree called me that day and was like, girl, sit down. Don't do no show. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Another thing that happened, and I'm sorry, I know it's like, whoo, but like right before, the day before my surgery was when the incident in Atlanta happened with the shooting at the nail salon. So since that happened, okay, first of all, after that happened, of course there was everybody talked about Stop Asian Hate, but really, I really thought it should be to say this first thing, stop white terrorism, because like, yes, we need to stop Asian hate, but like, what is up with the terrorism, like of across the board with with folks. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is, since March 17th, that was the day I went into surgery, there have been 96 mass shootings in America. 96. Now, yeah, we're not hearing about them all. They're not all in the news. They're not 96. What's up, folks? What's up? And everybody, you know, nobody wants to, you know, gun, you know, I want my gun reform, 96, folks. I'm just going to leave it at that, 96. All right. Moving right along. Moving right along. Other things while I was gone. And of course, you know, yes, the bright spot in my time away was the fact that we actually got a guilty verdict in the George Floyd case. But then right after that, Makia. Right after that, Dante. Right after that, Adam Toledo. Right after that, Andrew. So I'm just like, we can't catch a break. I feel like sometimes. That's why I say we really got to like hold each other. We really got to hold each other. We really got to hold each other because it's a lot right now. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. I gotta go back to my girl Makia. I just want y'all to look at her. She's 16. I'm not gonna say a whole lot. We've heard a whole lot about that. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay, and finally on the heavy news, COVID-19 vaccine. So it's not so heavy, but what I just want to say this. This is what I want to say about the COVID-19 vaccine. If you're gonna get vaccinated, great. If you're not going to get vaccinated, great. Here's what's driving me crazy about the COVID-19 vaccine. Not the vaccine. Vaccine's not driving me crazy. What's driving me crazy is that people lead their conversations with you about if you've been vaccinated. That's driving me crazy. I just don't like it. I just don't like that, like, the first thing coming out of people's mouths is like, have you been vaccinated? Because it sounds like you're taking your pet to the vet. I don't like it. So it's no problem. Like, do whatever you want to do, but like, have another lead in. That's all I'm, you know, like, ask people, say, you know, something else, you know, get into that. And that's just my own personal beef. Like, I don't have any problem with the vaccine. I'm not an anti-vax person, none of that. I'm just like, it's driving me crazy that that's how people are leading in the convo. That's all. Okay, great. All right. So on some lighter news. As I think about LaFrae coming on shortly, when I was away, Frey and I were simultaneously watching the verses with the Isley Brothers and Earth, Wind & Fire. Yay. It was so much fun. So while I've been gone, 3 verses happened. So the Earth, Wind & Fire, Isley's verses happened, which was great. Sans Steve Harvey, who was driving us all crazy. He was driving us all crazy, Lord of mercy. And I was thinking, I don't know if it was LaFrae, maybe she said it to me. Somebody said a really awesome host would have been Sinbad, but I also forgot that Sinbad, I think, recently had a stroke. So, you know, shout out to Sinbad if you know, he's out there. I mean, he is out there, but, you know, shout out to him and his healing. So the 3 verses that happened. So this verses happened on Easter Sunday. That was great. Then my second favorite verses happened on 420 with Method Man and Redman. And everybody had like something to say about Redman's shirt. It says it goes Reggie, Jay-Z, Tupac, Biggie. And yes, he's Reggie. He's Reggie Noble, and he put himself first. And I am mad at him because I really feel like Redman is one of the most underrated MCs on the planet. And that's a whole other dissertation. But 420, we saw Method Man and Redman. And then just the other night, we saw Escape and SWV. And I have to say, like, I really came in for SWV. And I mean, I still do. I love them. Like, I can't even front. But, you know, Escape Escape showed up. And honestly, they had all kind of folks in the building for them. Like Atlanta showed up for them. But it was a really beautiful night, just like all the verses. Never really a competition, really a celebration. But I really want to go back to the Isleys real quick, because this was the talk of the whole thing. Because honest to God, when Ron Isley came out, I didn't even know it was him. Like, I was just sort of like, who's this guy they got that's going to sing these songs? But then he proceeded to break the internet with his new look. So, big up, big up to him. Excuse me. I'm just going to leave it at that. But, next thing that happened while I was away, marijuana became legal in New York City. Like, all these things happened. So, that was a thing. That is a thing. And I'm not going to say a whole lot about that, but it's interesting that it's legal. It kind of feels like it was always legal in New York, but that's a whole other story. But that's it. So I know I laid a lot on you. I know I did. I've been gone for a long time, and I just felt like I needed to share. I just felt like I need to share. Oh, and I see here in the chat, it was my man Ian Friday who said Sinbad. Thank you, Ian, because I knew somebody said Sinbad, but it wasn't me. I was like, I know I didn't come up with that on my own. But Sinbad, yes, would have been awesome. But as I was reminded, he's not, he wouldn't have been able to do it. Anyway, it is the new moon. It's the new moon in Taurus. Big up to my Taurus family. I am doing, of course, my moon forecast and shouting out my Taurus people. So you might see some people in the moon forecast that you know. So I'm going to play the moon forecast, and we're going to come back with LaFrae. Thank you all for indulging me, because, I know I talk like way longer than I normally do, but I've been gone for 6 weeks, 7 almost. So anyway, here we go. New moon. The new moon on May 11th finds us in the northern hemisphere at the height of springtime and in the sign of Taurus, the fixed earth sign. The lunation is in a harmonious trine aspect with Pluto in Capricorn, adding intensity to the way in which we experience the world sensorily. The fragrance and vibrant colors of flowers in bloom, the warmth of the sunshine on our tentatively unbundled and exposed skin while dining al fresco out of choice rather than necessity. We may feel the luxury of daring to dream of a happier, more magical summer this year with the help of Neptune in Pisces. While any new moon is an auspicious time for the planting of seeds of intention, a new moon in an earth sign is a fine time to plant or transplant actual seeds or seedlings. Communing with nature is the order of the day. Wherever you may find yourself on earth, feel the ground beneath your feet and touch it with your fingertips. It can also be a great day to acquire a new toy or treat yourself to some form of adornment, jewelry, makeup, or a new outfit, whatever is beautiful and emblematic of luxury to you. Of course, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and with Uranus having settled in for a long stay in the sign associated with our collective and respective aesthetics, there may be some weird and wonderful ideas afoot as to the meaning of good taste. And since Taurus's ruling planet has already moved into Gemini, joining Mercury, ideas come thick and fast, and there may be a flurry of communication. Even as this lunation begins a new monthly cycle, during which the moon will spend 2.5 days in each sign of the zodiac, there is an added importance to the new moon in that it kicks off our summer eclipse season, beginning the buildup of energy leading to the full moon eclipse in Sagittarius on May 26th, setting the stage for our next major world event. This also coincides with the beginning of Mercury in retrograde. By next week, Mercury will already be slowing down, and the Sun will be in no hurry to reach the last degrees of Taurus, reminding us all that this should be the most unrushed period of the year. Be sure to take time to stop and smell the roses. This moon forecast was brought to you by Moist Paula at Zodiac Soundtracks. Welcome to the new moon in Taurus. Yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the new moon in Taurus. Shout out to that last photo. That was our man, Ronnie Drayton. We miss him dearly. And, he's part of the Taurus family, now the Spirit Taurus family. And love to all my Tauruses. So, before we get into our guests, I just want to say, because I'm trying to be better at this, like and subscribe. If you like what you see, if you're watching on YouTube, or even if you're not watching YouTube, go over to YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It all helps. Like, subscribe. We're in this algorithm-y world. So help a girl out and like and subscribe. Don't worry, you won't be like spammed or anything like that. You'll just get notified when I go live. Easy peasy. Go on over there. All right. So I am so excited to bring to the stage my girl, LaFrae Sci.
Hey. I brought my Yoni Cathedral.
Yes.
A little bit of healing.
Yeah.
And, also, I really appreciated seeing you in the chat on Versus.
Yeah.
And I know we sat up talking pretty late that night, and I went in Team EWF.
Yes.
I went in Team EWF, but man, those outfits and the performances and just the whole, I was like, well, I don't know. I think the Isleys have it, but I listen to this record a lot when I'm in the house. So
yeah, absolutely. Oh my God. Well, you're not alone. I think a lot of people went in Team EWF. Like, I think the Isleys get kind of, they get played a little low, which is kind of crazy because they, for like a whole decade and change, I mean, really longer, but like throughout the 70s into the 80s, they put out a record a year.
Yeah, that's
like,
really.
They really were just like boom, boom, boom. And they were good. Like, it wasn't like it was just like, trash, But yeah, girl.
They could do a tour like unplugged. You know what I mean?
Yes, they
like,
could.
They totally had that vibe. Whereas like EWF is just a whole other thing. Because I imagine like I'm thinking, I'm seeing horns and the whole vibe, But somebody said this, I loved it. They said, the Earth, Wind, and Fire asks us to be love, and the Isleys ask us to make love.
Hello. Facts. That's awesome. Oh my God. But yeah, that was good. That was a very, actually, like, really healing evening for me, because that was my first night home at my parents' house. Mm-hmm. And it was Easter Sunday, and I was definitely feeling away.
Yeah.
So it was nice to find you in the chat. And I was talking to you that night. And I was talking to my brother Daryl Tillman that night.
Wow.
So we were all, in that vibe.
That was probably one of the best nights of the whole pandemic for me,
Yeah, it was definitely really good. I mean, I've been checking Versus since before the people were actually in the room together, Mm-hmm. And to me, still the number one night was Beanie Man and Bounty Killer. And I don't know if I had told you about this, but like they're in Jamaica, mm-hmm. and the police showed up.
That's wow.
And Beanie was just like, to the police officer, he's like, you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that guy. Like, the world is watching. But it was an amazing night. But that was also, the Isleys and EWF definitely up there.
Yeah.
As one of the best. But we're not here to talk about them. We're here to talk about you.
Okay.
We're talking with you. But I introduced you as LaFrae Sci, but as you all can see, it also says Frey, daughter of Drexia. Yeah. So we're going to get into all that. But I was going to read your whole bio or a piece of your bio, but I'm just going to say, LaFrae, when she came into my life as a drummer. And so that was how my first interaction with LaFrae was as a drummer. But as I've gotten to know her, throughout the years, because we played together in Burnt Sugar, and just become friends. So she is a multi-instrumentalist. She is an educator. currently the executive director of Willie Mae Rock Camp for Girls, or Willie Mae Future Sounds, or AKA Willie Mae Future Sounds, and has moved into electronic music as Frey daughter of Drexcia. So, I mean, man, you played all over the world. Like, this is another thing about LaFrae. Like, LaFrae has been, I mean, literally, name it. Like, if I'm reading here, 38 countries all over the world. So, like, really international, have spread the joy of your music, love all across the world. So I'm gonna scroll back because I don't want to pretend like everybody knows who you are, and I don't want to pretend like everybody knows your story. So when I came into the orbit of LaFrae, I honestly, didn't know a lot of women who were drumming. Most of the women who I knew that were drumming were like, I knew Cindy Blackman.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I knew Sheila E.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Right. And, my journey here in New York, of course, has put me in front of, women who were doing things that you didn't necessarily see in the mainstream world. But just tell us a little bit about that. And I'm not going to stay too much into that, but just, you as a young woman, deciding like that drums was your path into the music, or was it the first path into the music?
Yeah, no, it wasn't my first path into the music. My first path into music was my grandmother, who was the choir church music director at Mount Pisgah AME Church in Lake City, Florida.
All right.
And so that whole experience of that church, and then we did like the AME thing in the morning, and then she liked to do the Sanctified Baptist thing at night on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
So we would go to church twice on Sundays, and that I played a lot of piano, and I started to play the flute in lower school, and I got in marching band, and I was playing flute. I did have a drum set. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I had a drum set when I was 4 from Children's Palace. And we had, do you remember Children's Palace? I don't know what this is for. I just remember I got this drum set and it had some fake heads that were cheap plastic.
Yeah, plastic, right.
I beat holes into them. And then because I was playing the devil out of the drums when I was 4, and my mom was like, well, you broke it. You don't get another one. And I was like, and I remember I was like, that's cool. I'm just going to play the box. Like, I just, I was just that, always playing. And so I remember like when I was in high school, I was in marching band because it was like the only social thing outside of, Ohio. I was in Ohio at the time. There was like smoking weed, cow tipping, doing some other crazy stuff, or being in marching band. Okay. So I went with marching band, and I used to play the drums on the breaks between rehearsals, and the director heard me and put me on snare the next year. And so then I marched snare, which made all the dudes mad because I started on snare, but it is what it is. And then I switched high schools, and they had a sorry marching band. So then I started playing drums for a show choir. And then I left it alone and moved forward in college. I studied political theory and economics and East Asian studies. And because we lived in Japan for a long time, I speak pretty good Japanese. And so I thought I'd maximize on that. But then drums just kind of took over. And so I just started playing professionally in college, gigs. I went to college near Cleveland. Okay. And so Cleveland, Detroit, Pittsburgh, like that whole zone for many years. And then I got in a train. My mom and dad drove me to the train. They were so mad at me, but they couldn't stop me. I had $600, a bag of clothes, and a drum set, getting on Amtrak. And then, that's kind of how.
And that's the rest is history.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so many of us have those, New York stories of sort of like coming with next to nothing and making something. Like when I came to New York, I lived at first in New Jersey with my aunt, but when I really came to New York, I lived in Queens with my friend's family, but like in the basement, with the dog. And it was like, whole family in the house, it was like brother and sister-in-law and 2 kids upstairs, parents on another floor, me and the dog in the basement. And and blessings really to my friend's parents who just were like, yeah, she can stay, and they had me like, cause they were real Southern folks. They were like, you got to contribute something, they're like, just give us like, $50 when you can, but it was just sort of the idea of like, you're part of the household, contribute something to it. It wasn't anything like serious, like this is your rent.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, it's that magic thing that carries us when you make a full commitment towards your creative focus, I think, and it may not always be glamorous and it may not always have a 401, K attached to it.
Yeah.
But there is that spiritual network of family, church family, creative family that kind of carry me, apartments, scenarios, roommates, gigs, money, food. Like there's just, I couldn't be more grateful for the path.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much magic, like you say, in that community. Like I always say to my mother, like, it might be rough here in New York sometimes, but I would never be homeless. Like somebody would always be like, just come stay, just come get on this couch or come, whatever. So yeah, it's definitely special. I'm going to fast forward because, we talked about these 38 countries that you visited, and I know that you did a lot of that work through the State Department, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So yeah, when did that sort of come into, how did you like make your way into that world of the State Department and that, and Jazz at Lincoln Center and all that?
Yeah, actually, at the time, Jazz at Lincoln Center was having a challenge of retention of girls in their programs. And so I was interviewing them and they mentioned that this was a problem. And I was like, well, how many women do you have on staff? And it was crickets. And so I became a staff member of the Middle School Jazz Academy, which was the beginning of a lot of things for me. First of all, an understanding that most middle school students aren't going to remember more than 3 major points in a lesson. So I started really refining a teaching style that had 3 things in the beginning, reiterated in the middle, and then reflection and repeat the 3 things in the end. And then hopefully they remember the 3 things. And then I started teaching adults for the State Department who were I was helping bands that were chosen by this American Music Abroad program. I was doing professional developments with them to help them refine their workshops so that they could be aware of the cross-cultural elements that they would be experiencing. And they would come with like trying to teach like every piece of theory that they knew from like the Manhattan School of Music. And I'm like, 3 things. So that was a real shift for me. And then this type of touring really lit me up because when I was touring before, because my first touring gig when I moved to New York was with Khalees, that record. Oh right, yeah. With I Hate You So Much Right Now. Yeah. Which was a really great experience. And so yeah, that was a weird experience because I came to New York to play jazz. So I was just like, ding, 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 ding. Right. It was a bit of a shift. But when I was doing these tours, I was seeing I wasn't able to make personal connections on the ground. And the State Department, you got a chance to do some workshops and get to know people a little bit. And so I started to really like that model of touring, of building something, connecting, and performing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like so much, like all those things. And I'm going to jump a little, but I feel like all those things, meaning the Jazz at Lincoln Center, the State Department, really, to me, set you up for exactly where you are right now, which is the executive director of Rock Camp, because you really have that clear understanding of how to communicate with young people, and get things into them, clearly, you know what I'm saying? Like not even, just like without it being, well, let's put it this way, fun and clear. Fun and clear. But before I get to Rock Camp, I know you have your own well, tell me, is group diplomacy, because I know were you taking your band out under the group diplomacy umbrella? Because I know like you had gone to Guatemala and done that. So tell us a little bit about group diplomacy.
So group diplomacy was it's a corporate entity. I got the corporate thing for the state of New York, but it's a non-governmental NGO.
It's on NGO, okay.
Yeah, it was an NGO, and through group diplomacy, I was able to get the certification I need to be able to do work with embassies and get grants, and had a SAM number, and the whole thing to go through that process. And what I would do is I would take a team of dynamic performers and / teachers, and we would go on the ground. And they would give us like a mission. Because each embassy every year has like an objective, and this year our objective is women in entrepreneurship. So it's like, okay, we're gonna find a way to work that into our programming, workshops, and work with adults, work with young people, work with girls, work with boys, work with the community, build something, have a culminating experience, and we're out,
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did that. I know. Was that part of when you were working with the young people in Russia? Was that part of group diplomacy, or was that part of something else?
Yeah. Initially, my first contact was through the State Department, and then group diplomacy. And then we kept going, and then it became group diplomacy.
Got it. Yeah, absolutely. So. Again, even though I know we know you're a multi-instrumentalist.
Yeah.
I know you, mostly as a drummer in terms of like being, us playing together, and that's sort of like where we cross. But recently, I don't know, maybe. I mean, you can tell me, but I feel like it's just recently you just made a complete like 180 into electronic music. But maybe that's something that you've been doing for a while, and I just didn't know about it. Yeah. But tell us about that, because I feel like you made this shift into electronic music, and that is where Frey, daughter of Drexciya, comes in. And you can tell us about the name, but like, and not just did you make the shift, but you really are now like ensconced in that community.
Yeah. So wait.
You want me to back up?
Yeah, back it up again. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Just when did you start to make that shift into electronic music?
Okay, I got it now. So here's the thing. I also do media composing. I write for film, television, and theater. And so I have had a studio set up where I have either used field recordings in the tradition of Zora Neale Hurston, and using those sounds and affecting them with modular or analog synthesizer kind of effects modules, and then using that to create kind of unique textures and sounds for compositions. So I have been doing electronics for a minute in varying ways, but I wasn't out there performing as an electronic musician. But what happened was during COVID, in the four walls, I started digging deep into some of my gear and posting on Instagram. And some people saw my posts and invited me to be in a stream. And then that stream show, which was like, it was pretty vast. It was like people from several countries all doing live, using OBS. I mean, all of us were suddenly like, learning this technology, like you, brava, this is awesome. But, all of us were suddenly like trying to figure out how to do this thing to stay connected and find another way to have some sort of a hustle for our expression, or at least a path to reach other people. You know?
Right.
So that stream led to me being on other streams. And I have to say, I am repping for the Southern California Synth Society because it's my people. And we haven't even met in person. Like, they're like, how old are you? You know what I mean? It's like funny that we've developed these relationships, you know, and there's all these stream shows, and some of them are live, and some of them, you know, you make a 20-minute video on your own time, produce it, and send it in, and then they put it all into OBS and they run the stream show and they do interviews in between.
Right.
So
Right.
I've done a whole bunch of those.
Right.
Yeah.
So this was really, I mean, so the expansion of it really came during COVID, because I've been asking people sort of like, what has it been like? You know, for some of us, you know, the creative process has not been happening during COVID, but for some folks, you know, it's been like a complete opposite. So do you feel like that this was sort of one of those things that, I don't want to say, you know, all of us have had, you know, to figure out sort of like our quote unquote coping mechanisms through this. I mean, even though people we've been working and but you know, the things that are bringing us joy in this time.
Yeah, I think also too, it really is kind of just for me. Although, so it definitely was just something that I was doing and enjoying without any type of commission or gig or even outward approval. You know, so, and what I really love too is, you know, like part of being a jazz musician is dealing with everyone telling that you, like, people like you can't play. Like, you know, there's that thing that happens in that world, and actually in a lot of musical worlds, but in electronic music, like I'm not even trying to like throw shade, but like somebody can go up there with like one single gnarly tone, and somebody, because everyone gets in the chat, and there's a constant thing in the chat, someone will be like, the stereo field is amazing. Like, they go out of their way to find something positive to say about every single performance. There is
amazing.
So much kindness and love in this community. It's kind of, I mean, there might be some competition if people are wired that way, but in general, it's not based around competition because everyone's just doing it.
Right.
You know?
And I know you recently did a stream or a show. So what was that? So people know, like, if they're looking to like know what are the big, I guess, sort of like, I guess now online festivals that are happening, or, you know, what was that?
My friend Jono Wells, who's part of SoCal Synth, has a show called Modular World, and that, you're welcome, Jono. And so he has like a YouTube channel, and he did a 1-year anniversary show where he streamed 132 artists from 24 countries for like 30 some hours nonstop, and it was you know, epic feels like an understatement. But it was really beautiful, and the chat was full of all that love. I mean, talk about vibration and frequencies.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So tell us about your name, Daughter of Drexcia.
Okay, so I think it might be the part in me that sort of enjoys making sure that the record is straight. And so, like, when I play banjo, you know, everyone's like, ooh, the Appalachia. And I'm like, well, let me tell you something. This instrument is related to the accounting, a West instrument, the big sister to the banjo. And my picking style is actually the claw hammer, which is the exact same picking style that's used on the accounting, which comes from the West African tradition. So it predates Appalachia, you know? And so it's like, I feel like I have to keep saying that. I can't believe I'm still telling people this in 2021.
Wow.
But I have to keep saying that. So the thing is that the electronic music innovators were Black. It was Black excellence, Black genius. Techno is Black.
Yeah.
It's all Black music, and you know, but it's got a vibe and now it's very much, you know, a scene in like in you know, Germany and in parts of Europe, and so people have like this thing that techno is devoid. I remember I was doing a residency at the University of Illinois, and most of the students there who are Black are from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started, I taught a class, and I taught about Drexcia, and I taught about techno being Black. Like, this young brother came up to me like as if he could come out of the closet. He's like, "You mean techno's Black?" Like, he was like, all right now, I love techno. Like, you can listen to techno out loud. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
Techno is Black. And so actually, when I was in high school, my family lived in Ohio, and me and my friend between high school and college would drive up to Detroit, and we would see Drexcia and all of the early innovators of that techno sound. So I was in it and around it without even realizing that this was it. We just knew that it was worth driving from Dayton to Detroit and hitting the clubs around Detroit and then coming back, you know, to my mom being mad at like 8 in the morning. She was like, "Get this under my roof."
Right.
Yeah, Mom. So yeah. So
Okay.
that whole experience, I decided to embody it because in the synth world, everyone has a synth name.
Right.
And so my family calls me Frey Frey. It's my nickname. So I thought about the Drexcia experience because what I also love about Drexcia, because I think, you know, when you think about the middle passage, like the pain and the suffering and the trauma that is still carried intergenerationally because of that experience amongst others. The fact that Drexcia was able to put a shift on that, another story, you know, the Drexian myth is that the pregnant enslaved Africans that were thrown overboard birthed a master race of Africans under the sea called the Drexians. And then the band Drexcia went on to write 8 more records that basically illuminated the story of the Drexian Empire that ended up on a star called Grava 4. And the founders of Drexcia actually bought a star and named it Grava 4. So just to keep it like, you know, 100.
Wow.
But and I am an ocean person, which you know. And so there's a lot of parallels. I'm a Cancer.
Right.
You know, and my creativity, I feel creative and inspired by the ocean. So there's that connection with my name. And then everyone says, Frey Frey, daughter of Drexcia, and then I get to tell this long ass story, but they so yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, well, you enlightened me because I didn't know any of that. So thank you. And thank you for sharing that with my audience. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We were trying to, you know, we were all kind of late in terms of like getting videos together, but if you want to see what LaFrae does in the electronic world, you can go to her YouTube channel. It's like it's her name. It's YouTube. If you put in YouTube Frey Frey and Frey. Oh, you know what? See, I'm talking, but what did I do? Boom.
Wow.
That's what it's like you make things and you forget that you make things. There it is. So there it is, folks. So if you go to her YouTube channel, you can see some videos of the electronic work that LaFrae is doing. So there's that. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm also, I'm doing a whole lot of pivoting, but I'm going to pivot back over to Willie Mae Rock Camp because you are the ED, and I do want to talk about that and Willie Mae Future Sounds. And so just another quick note for folks who might not be in the know. Willie Mae Rock Camp for Girls. It started what year?
2004. Okay,
in 2004. Willie Mae, if you're not familiar, is the real name of Big Mama Thornton. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. So the camp is named after Big Mama Thornton. And it's gone through its many changes, many ups and downs. I know Frey, I've taught at Rock Camp, before that Frey taught at Rock Camp. And now here we are. Now Frey is the ED and program director, correct?
Yeah, director of artistic programming.
Okay, yes, at Willie Mae. So tell us about that, because you took that on. Was it before the pandemic, and then we rolled into the pandemic?
Yeah, it was like, I think I started thinking about maybe in February. And then I gave a soft yes in mid-March or something like that. And then the pandemic hit and I said, oh, absolutely, I'll do this.
Right.
Playing. But I am really grateful though.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So talk to me about just that, because you normally, we'd be in person, right? Doing programs with kids. And you really had to make a shift. I mean, just to be honest, and in terms of doing that, and then just keeping young people still wanting to be engaged and a part of that. And you've done a lot, because I know you started like the TV, Willie Mae TV and all that kind of stuff. So just, how has it been in terms of just making that shift and keeping the kids engaged during this time? And what are the things that you've introduced?
Well, a couple things. There's a couple tributaries that were going on. Willie Mae, I came to Willie Mae bringing a new program pivot with a year-round focus. There's data. The middle school girls stop raising their hands, stop trying to do good in school, become less interested in things that could lead them towards STEAM careers. There's all this data. That's the era. That's the moment to grab them. So the type of electronic music I do is with analog and modular synthesizers, and it requires a level of understanding around their construction and putting them together and even creating with them that's very akin to engineering. And so there is a real, and then when you're actually soldering and creating like sound making devices, that is engineering. And so it's STEAM. And so, and there's a huge disparity. And so this is the challenge we've decided to take on with our new programming called Willie Mae Future Sounds. And it's a digital mentorship year-round program. And I need to say that, Willie Mae Rock Camp is in its 17th year. And one of the things that I realized is that, it's not a camp. I love the Willie Mae. I love standing on the shoulders of, Willie Mae Big Mama Thornton. But we've evolved in terms of our understanding of students that are gender fluid, gender expansive, and trans. And we embrace them, and we've recentered the organization, also supporting girls of color. We actually just changed the name. We dropped for girls out of inclusivity and solidarity. But we've doubled down on our mission, but in terms of like the name. So we're officially Willie Mae Rock Camp. Things will be changing slowly. Our website, what have you, which is www.williemaerockcamp.org. I thought we were going to be in person. And then we shifted it online real quick. The first thing we did, because we have a school partnership in 3 schools, the Young Women's Leadership School in Brooklyn, Bronx, and Queens. We did an art share with the 3 schools on Breonna Taylor's birthday. And one of the things that Willie Mae had in its curricular approach is a very social, emotional. It's more about social justice and agency and self-efficacy rather than like learn every permutation that you can play in this scale on this instrument. Right. So we started really reaching into that side of things and started holding space. And I've studied mindfulness and some IFOT. So bringing these things into the classroom and offering the students tools that they can use to help them cope, because the challenges that were being faced by the young people we were working with. And I was able to convince the schools that what we were doing was using music to begin a conversation around healing and care and expression, and that was not just for music students. So we are in more than music classrooms this year, virtually, and we are serving 300 girls of color a week through year-round programs. And look, my girls, especially the ones in Queens, they got gratitude journals. You know, we play, you know, categories. You know, like categories. We play categories. We play categories. Because what happens is if you're writing like, I'm grateful for my house, I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for my health, and then it's like Tuesday, I'm grateful for my house, I'm grateful for my health. It's Wednesday. Okay. So categories is like, all right, what are you grateful for? You have 90 seconds to write down 12 things that you're grateful for that start with the letter P. Go. You know what I mean? And then you dig a little deeper.
Yes.
And then we also teach listening. And so it's like, oh, what are sounds that you are grateful for? Like one of my students today told me that she was grateful. She was grateful for the black joy she heard from a cookout over the weekend.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, we're having these conversations, and this stuff is STEAM too. Like, you know, STEAM isn't just being in a laboratory. STEAM is your Abuela's cold remedy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's the same thing, you know, so but we're making it culturally relevant by drawing from our experiences as, you know, women of color. Asa Lovechild, you know, Asa.
Yep.
Asa's up in there helping out with marketing, like leading. You know, Asa does everything.
Yeah, she does. She absolutely does. Yeah.
And singer and
singing her face off.
Like, yeah. Me, Asa's like, oh yeah, I could do that. I could design that. I'm gonna do. I got your website. Yeah, I got marketing. You know, you know, so we're doing what we can to support. We're coming out of COVID with a new curriculum, and really, and we've test driven it. You know, so we're going to try to expand our impact. So if anybody wants to support, you know, our website has ways you could do little donations monthly. You know, you could do something big. You could, you know, sponsor a mentorship. There's all these kind of ways to support if you want.
I'm gonna put that because it's reallyrockcamp.org, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, boom, there it is.
Wow. That's great.
Listen, I'm just gonna say that idea with like the way to reimagine your gratitude. I mean, like giving like prompts and things. That's awesome because I do a gratitude journal all the time, and you know how it is. It's like you get to that point, you're like, okay. And so I started doing my gratitudes with a friend of mine, which is also helpful because it makes you sort of like, you know, expand. But I kind of love that. Like, what are you thankful for? That starts with letter P. What are you thankful for? You know, the sounds of this. I mean, those are really great prompts. Like anybody that's listening and if you don't have a gratitude or watching, if you don't have a gratitude journal, start one. That's number one, right? Especially now. But if you are, you know, if you already are doing that, you know, think about what LaFrae said and run with that. Cause that was a really great idea. Like I was like, oh yeah, that's good. Cause there's so many things to be thankful for. And we sometimes get stuck, like you said, in a box.
Yeah.
So yeah. And how great is it that you're really giving, you know, these young people this tool at this time, as you talk about like middle school, like what a great time to start that work. I wish somebody had told me that in middle school. So, yeah, I mean, please folks, like go to Willie Mae Rock Camp. You know, you can get more information. You can see what they're doing. And as LaFrae said, it's bigger than camp. You know, it's bigger than camp.
We have a space.
Say that again.
We have a 1,500 square foot listening lab teaching studio that we're getting ready to hopefully open up in person by the fall safely. And it's on President Street, just below 4th Avenue off of the N train.
Okay, awesome. So that's in Brooklyn.
The R
train. Yeah. So that's in Brooklyn. But even if you're not in Brooklyn, like Frey said, you can always donate. You can always support. There's many ways to support. And I put Frey's, you know, personal IG because again, you can check out the electronic music and really get into that and have that full experience.
You're the best, Shelley. You're the best. I love you.
I love you too.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like, even though we've talked about a lot of things, I feel like, we've had so many like good times, road trips, laughs. We've spent, as I said at the top, for those who missed it, LaFrae and I are in Burnt Sugar together, the wildest, most beautiful band in the land. But I love you. I just want to say that out loud to everybody. And I'm so thankful, for your grace, in March when I really just had to shut it down. And I know that, I know that's who you are, but I know that everybody, might not have had that same vibration of like at the 11th hour being like, I can't do it.
I mean, once you make me a purple sweet potato pie,
yeah.
I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, whatever.
You got it. So yeah, LaFrae was the proud winner of getting my purple sweet potato pie on Thanksgiving.
That was awesome. See? And I think like you were the first person that I had spent some social distance times with it at that point in COVID. I remember you spent the night and we talked till like 3:00 the next day. Like
we did. And I almost didn't go home. And I was like, you know what? Let me go home.
Yeah, well, I got the couch here. Anytime, come through.
Oh, I'm coming back. Your view is giving me all kind of life. So I love you. I'm gonna keep it moving because I know, I don't want to say I'm over time because it's not really true. It's like it's time, but
yeah.
But thank you. So again,
thank you.
Please, everybody, support LaFrae. Check out all the magical, wonderful things LaFrae is doing. And is that our girl? There's our girl, Harriet Lavender.
Harriet Lavender.
And we'll be in touch. You can hang out and watch the rest of the show, or you can, or I'll catch up with you later. But I love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Yay. Thank you, everybody. I see y'all in the comments. Thank you for being here. I am so much gratitude for that. So as I said at the top, or maybe I didn't say it at the top, actually, this is the actual season finale of the show. We took a really long pause, obviously, because I had to deal with, my health stuff. So this is going to be the last show. I might do a throw in a best of show, but this is going to be the final show until probably the fall. That's what I'm thinking. So before I get out of here, I really want to, there's so many people I need to thank. So we had an awesome season 2. We had some really beautiful, amazing guests. If you haven't checked out the, the earlier shows, please go back. They're all on YouTube, on my Blackbush channel. So youtube.com/Blackbush. I think I have that here somewhere. Yep, there we go. But I really just want to give so much love, so much gratitude to, to Pastor Yolanda Batts of Celebration Spiritual Center. That is my pastor. That's my pastor. That was an awesome show. That was our very first show of the season. So Pastor Yolanda Batts, I'm sorry, I keep saying her name wrong. Honeychild Coleman, Holly Harper, Toshi Regan, Adrienne Marie Brown, Martha Redbone, Sandra St. Victor. Listen, Sandra St. Victor jumped in at the 11th hour, came on. She's in Amsterdam, 8:00 p.m. here. It's 2 a.m. or something crazy. Bless you, Sandra St. Victor. Rosa Clemente, Sebene Selassie, and tonight, of course, LaFrae Sci, for being part of season 2. So much gratitude. I also want to thank Moist Paula Henderson, Moist Paula, who every week was giving me another forecast. So the forecast that you see, yes, that's me doing the voiceover, but that's Paula doing the writing. So, if you want to, I think in the notes, yeah, definitely below, if you're watching on YouTube or even on Facebook, there's information about how to get in touch with Paula if you ever want to get a reading, a chart done with her. She's an awesome astrologer. So, please support Paula. I also want to thank Patronila Jefferson, because she stepped in and did, I think, one of my voiceovers when I was like, yeah, I can't do it, girl. Yeah, and actually, and you know what? I didn't even post it, but she also stepped in, and I got to give a shout out to Alan Camlet, because we had started to move the audio portion of the show over to podcast land, so that, like, if you didn't or can't, watch it on YouTube, or if you'd rather listen to the show, we're getting a podcast together. So all of that was happening before I had to shut everything down. So shout out to Alan Camlet, who's like engineer extraordinaire. He mixed my last record, I Am American. Blessings to Alan. Hoboken Recorders, give him some love. And of course, my girl, my sister, Patricia Jefferson. No, she's not my, you know what? I was going to say she's not my family, but yes, she is, because I feel like every Jefferson out here, where we all got the name from. So Patronila, shout out to Patronila for helping me out with the voiceover. So again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. You can find me on IG at Punanny Poly TV on IG and Twitter. Like I said, I'm working on, I think I'm going to post the best of, here's the challenge. It's not really a challenge, but the challenge is that I'm doing a show. Oh my God. I'm doing a real live, actual in-person show. So last year, one of the many things that got canceled was the Darker Chronicles, Chronicle X at the Shed. And, that got shut down, but we're back. And we're doing the show as I see here on June 3rd and 4th at the Shed. And Nia Witherspoon is the playwright. So as I said here, Nia Witherspoon was my second guest on season 1. So if you're not familiar with Nia, you can go back to season 1. You can check out episode 2, and you can really hear all about Darker Chronicles, Chronicle X, and what that's about. So this show is amazing. I've been workshopping this show, or been with the workshop of this show for like the last 3 years. It's brilliant. And I can't even get into all of the things that it is right now. But really, if you're interested in that, go to theshed.org. The tickets are not available yet, but you can, get on their mailing list, and then you'll get an email about when tickets are available. Tickets also, I think, are going to be free, and there's not that many seats because of COVID. So stay on it. Stay on it, because I feel like those seats are going to go fast. But it's so brilliant, this piece. And, rehearsals have already begun. We started doing Zoom rehearsals. And then we're actually going to the dancers have actually already started meeting in person. And then next week, the singers and the actors start to meet in person. So yeah, it's going to be sort of a hybrid kind of thing. We're not going to be performing live the whole time on stage, just part of the time. But I'm really excited. Like I'm really super excited about it all. So I see some congratulations and thank you. I really appreciate that. It's for all of us performers, it's been quite a year. I still don't really know how it's all going to go down. And I know that there's a lot of push right now to get things back and up and running. I have my thoughts, but I'm thankful for this, and I'm thankful to be moving forward. So, yeah, like I said, I'm going to post the best of. I really want to do it next week. Probably just depends on the rehearsal schedule, because the schedule, like I said, we start to meet in person, and it's kind of full steam ahead until we hit the stage on June 3rd and 4th. So that's the show, folks. That's the show. Thank you so much for being here with me and having patience, and having patience, because I didn't know what was going to happen, and I'm back. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Again, support LaFrae. Check her out in all those places. Happy birthday to all my Tauruses, and I'll see y'all soon. I'm glad to be back. I mean, not that I wouldn't win, but I didn't know how I was going to feel, and I'm really thankful. I'm thankful to everybody, and I'm really glad to be feeling a lot better. So again, gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Y'all have a fabulous night. I'll see you next time. I'll see you next time, sooner than later. All right. Love y'all. Good night.
When you recognize you're on the ground.